Alright, we're in 1 Samuel chapter 5. We're gonna actually try to get 1 Samuel 5 and 6 in this lesson because sadly it would probably be 5, 6, and 7 if we had more time, because there's not a true break between this whole thing until you get to the end of chapter 6. I think somebody just called.
I know.
Check it. Disengage. Okay. And then just when they come in, set up everything.
First button, top of
Yep,
bottom
the button on the wall. Okay, so we're streaming this week from Tobago, and island time is interesting. So you guys will be along for the journey if island time happens in the process. Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, 1 Samuel chapter 5. I'll let it roll because if they're here, they're gonna come here. But they already left, so I don't know what. They went to the beach. Huh? Oh, yeah, it's only 2 of them. Anywho, I can recap last week because some people saw, some people didn't, because a large portion of last week got cut off. So from now on, we're gonna film on one camera and live stream on the other, and then somehow merge them if something goes wrong, because we lost like an hour of last week's lesson, and it went actually not just because I taught it, that would be silly, but actually went really well. The information went over really well, and we had discussion afterwards that I felt we were recording too. So last week what we discussed was the ark being taken and what Hophni and Phinehas actually did when they took the ark. Because when we went through the order of the tabernacle, when you could go in, where the ark was, how did they even get in without dying, and we talked about the glory of Yah leaving before they even went there to take it, because Yah was in his judgment protecting the people. And so we went through that, and we kind of broke that down. So I probably will go back and do that in another lesson later, just do like what you missed from 1 Samuel chapter 4, because there was a lot of important information, and we talked about how what it looked like when the glory of Yah left. So what we're doing in 5 and 6 is seeing, did Yah's glory leave everywhere, or did it just leave from him defending Israel? And so we're going to see how it's used, and then we're going to get a Hebraic understanding of what the word kavod looks like, because we defined that last week. We defined kavod, and we do it again this week, and we looked at what the glory of Yah looks like on the negative side and on the positive side. So sometimes people say, oh, the glory of Yah is not here, because we're not experiencing it in a positive sense. But we don't look at the glory of Yah in a negative sense, and how in the negative sense, Yah's glory is so present, and it's still supposed to be drawing you. All right. So let's start at 1 Samuel chapter 5, verse 1. And so kind of what we do is we read through it, because we don't want to assume that anybody's read it. I don't want to just teach a lesson, there not be context. So what we do is we read through it, and there's some points in the lesson where I'm going to ask questions, and then we'll pause there, and then I'll kind of show you what I've seen, and we can kind of bounce off one another. But before I do that, I'm going to give you this Hebrew word for kavod, because I gave it last week. So the Hebrew word for kavod is kaf. I'm going to write it in paleo and in pictograph and in modern. So it's kaf, bet, dalet. And it's the palm of the hand, the house, or the house tent in, and the door. And so we went over this word last week, and we defined it as pretty much Yah's hand, or the hand that is on the house, moving it through or in a direction, or through a portal, or to the next phase. But it also can be the hand, in this case the hand of Yah, blocking something, or pressing upon something, or chastising that which is in the house, so that once again that thing can move into its directed place. So when you look at like a shepherding sheep, you see it with the llama a lot. You see like teaching, but that's for obviously like animals. But when you see a parent and a child, or a parent and people in their house, it's definitely more hands-on. You have kids. Hands-on work is like, especially small children. You grab their hands, you turn it, come this way, right? Sometimes you have to spank them, where your hand is then upon them in the sense of moving them in a proper direction, and your hands are also used to bless them. I heard a European psychologist, a Christian psychologist, says you shouldn't use your hand to spank your child. For a long time I was like, okay, I kind of get what he says. He's like, then they'll fear your hand. And I was like, no, if I only spank them with my hand and attitude, but there's so many instances where the same hand that Yah puts upon Israel to chastise them is the same hand that he puts upon them to bless them. And what it teaches is reverence and respect. And it teaches you to know the temperament, the character of the person you're dealing with. If I do this, this is how they'll handle me. And if I do this, this is how they'll handle me. And it's definitely Hebraic than saying, oh, no, only give them timeouts, and no, I'm not gonna, no, I'm gonna do it the same exact way. So that's the picture of this. It's that hand pressing. We saw the glory of Yah being upon Israel, the kavod, in the cloud, right? When the cloud descended upon the tabernacle, then the glory of Yah was dwelling with the people, right? But then when the cloud lifted, they moved. So the hand of Yah, or the glory of Yah, was heavy because it almost caused the people to line, if you will. When the glory of Yah was in the midst of the camp, the people relaxed. What is it to worry about, right? The Mashiach made that same statement. He's like, your men, they dance and they're happy. He's like, they don't fast. And he's like, why should they fast when the bridegroom is here?
Right.
There's going to come a time for all of the heaviness of the absence of Babylon here. You should enjoy. It was the same exact picture with Yah. He was making a parallel between Yah's glory descended upon the tabernacle in the wilderness, and then literally Yah's glory tabernacling with man. So you see the picture? Okay. So obviously while the glory of Yah was there, the people were fine, but they had the glory of Yah, or they thought they did, in the midst of them, and then they started going crooked. Remember, they started taking from the sacrifices, sleeping with the women, and they got all kind of crazy. And so you get the prophecy.
Right.
This is going to happen. Your sons are going to die the same day. Blah, blah, blah. So last week we discussed how interesting that Yah doesn't kill anyone. People kill themselves. It's very much, and especially in the sense of when you've been born and it's tragic and it's prophecy, it's based upon a decision. Everybody's going to die because the wages of sin is death. Though how you die is not necessarily linked to your, like you did something dumb in that moment. But for some people, their death, and especially their second death, is linked to decisions that you make. Hophni and Phinehas went into the Holy of Holies, and the only time that they were allowed in the Holy of Holies was during Yom Kippur, during the Day of Atonement. Because that's when you went in, you took the ram, you did the scapegoat thing. You guys are doing it. They went in, and the thing that caught me, and I'm just recapping last week, was that Yah did not kill them immediately. And I made a joke. I was like, imagine how it was. Like, you go through the gate, and you're like, all right, we're going to do this. And then you go through the holy place, and you're like, all right. You had to pause, because remember, you had to have bells on. You had that rope tied to you.
Right.
To go. They were bold. They had completely disregarded the glory of Yah. And so Yah made that statement to Eli when he says, you honor your sons above me. Why? Eli's the high priest. How the heck did your sons make it past you? Now, remember, his eyes had dimmed. Remember?
Right.
But, and we just gave you last week, and we'll go over it again. I promise. I'll do the lesson again. What happens at the end of the story is that when a man comes back to give a report about Hophni and Phinehas being dead, and then it says, he goes, Israel lost in battle. Nothing. Your sons are dead.
Nothing.
And they've taken the ark of Yah.
Killed him.
And it says he fell back, and he died, and it says, and he was happy. But the thing that got me in that part was, when he was coming back, it says that Eli was waiting for the messenger to come back, and it says, he was unsettled. It literally, like, he was anxious, like his bowels turned within him for the ark. He wasn't really really, he was concerned about Hophni and Phinehas, but they had probably been getting on his nerves by this point. And he was concerned about Israel, but he knew that that ark was not supposed to be out of there. So we talked about how Yah had to remove his glory so that he would kill everybody. And we talked about Yah's providential care in these times where Yah has, in a sense, removed his glory and is dealing with us as a people individually to work with us to come back to him, because the next work is the work of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of led into this chapter 5. Because depending on what side of Yah's glory you're on, it's going to show what's going to happen. Because they took that ark out, thousands, 30,000 the second time, people died. 3 0 0 0 0. It's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so we're going to see how it looks on the other end, where now Yah's hand had been removed from Israel and they got defeated. But what is Yah's hand going to do to their enemies? Because it's not always one-sided. All right, chapter 1. Now the Philistines had taken the ark of Elohim and they brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. Mind you, these places are really, really close together. So Ashdod, if you were driving, I'm terrible directions, so I won't take north or south. If you were leaving from Tel Aviv and you were heading to like Gaza, where you see all the stuff happening, where the Palestinians are,
Right.
that those lines and those places are still named the exact same thing.
Wow.
So it's not for us it was about, we were staying in Joppa, so we were staying pretty much close to Tel Aviv. And it was like a 35-minute drive, maybe. Not a good day, there's sometimes traffic. So it's not far. So you're talking about walking from city to city, and it's coastal. So Ebenezer, Ashdod and Ashkelon are like literally sister cities. And they're right before you get to the Gaza Strip. So like the last pretty much major city before you go there. Just give you some perspective on where that is. So they took the ark and they brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. And the Philistines took the ark of Elohim and brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. Does anybody know who Dagon is?
What's a god? The Philistine god?
What god is it? Dagon is the fish god.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
very true. You said she said we see it with the Pope with the fish hat. You see the Pope's hat. It goes up like this, and it has a mouth. It opens here, and it has a tail that falls down. Also, one of the major symbols in Christianity you see on the back of people's car is the fish, right? And they're like, okay, because the fish represents, I don't know how they explain it, because it just
Loaves of fishes or something.
What?
Something stupid
it's like I thought it represented like life or like fishers of men or something
Yeah.
like that. And while that's cute and that's a nice way to explain away paganism, like we all have done it one time or another.
Right.
Right.
The fish that's connected with Christianity is connected to Catholicism, which is connected to Dagon, which is the fish god. Christianity is Catholicism, and Christianity is a part of Catholicism, is the great whore. She has all the abominations and all of the paganism within her, and she is in the bed with all of it. That is the great whore. And it's pretty much spread out. And then, you know, the Methodists and the Jehovah's Witness and the seven, those are her daughters.
Mm.
So it talks about the whores and their daughters in Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
There they all go. She has children, and they all stem from the same thing. And the reality is they all do the same thing. It comes down to it, they disagree on, can you sprinkle when you baptize? Are you fully immersed when you baptize? But they never argue about Christmas. They never argue about Easter. They never argue about any of their paganism, but they're always arguing about the Bible that they don't even keep. So I'll just put that out there because it's going to come up again later. Okay, so Dagon is this god. So Dagon also was the god of the Ninevites. If you kind of just fast forward, when Jonah goes and the whole picture of Jonah being in the fish, he comes and he has a sermon to preach because he's been in the fish and they believe him. And so that's the same exact god. So these people around this region all had these gods that they interchanged. They had multiple gods.
Mm-hmm.
So they bring the ark of Elohim in and they put it next to Dagon. If you jump back to chapter 5, if you've read it, if you haven't, chapter 4, please do. But and I'll read it, when they came out to battle against Israel, and the Israelites brought the ark out, right? The Philistines knew the history of the Hebrews. It's always good to keep in mind that your adversary, spiritual and physical, knows who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They rely on your disobedience, though, to be able to take you captive.
Yes.
same way we got taken captive. It was
Break it down.
very much reliant on the fact that we had disobeyed. Yeah. So listen to what the Philistines said. Now you have the Israelites, they are completely off. You can take the ark out. You're trying to use Yah as a good luck charm. You're trying to take the ark out and use it to beat them.
Take it
And
on the
you're not realizing
battlefield.
that this whole time you're not like these other nations. All these symbols are for a shadow of things to come, and they don't have any inherent power in them. All the power you've been getting this whole time has been from Yah, but you're more concerned with actual symbols than you are with Yah, right? So when they went out to battle, in chapter 4, Israel's getting whooped on, like bad. And the people were like, I can't believe we're losing. We're losing because we don't have the ark with us. Now, if you don't know anything about the ark, it wasn't taken out to battle. Like, no. No, not at all. So they thought they were going to do like the other gods, like the other nations, and use Yah as a good luck charm. And you'll see later, the book of Samuel is going to confirm that they want it to be like the other nations, because they're going to ask for a king like the other nations. So they were shifting already into wanting to be like the people around them, which God had already told them not to do. So, verse 6 of chapter 4 says, and when the Philistines heard, they bring this ark in, heard the noise of the shout, they said, what meaneth the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? And they understood that the ark of Yahuwah had came into the camp. And the Philistines were afraid. Reverence, fear, immediately. Right? They have gods, remember? But they're afraid. For they said, Elohim is come into the camp, and they said, woe unto us, for there hath not been such a thing heretofore. They were like, we ain't never done this before. Right? They even knew that it was strange for the ark to be brought into the camp. Okay? And so this is what they said. I'm telling you, they knew their enemy. It says, woe unto us, who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty elves? These are the elves that smote the Egyptians with all manner of plagues in the wilderness. So now you see that they have knowledge of what Yah has done to other people who come against them, right? So while they know this, they still try to make Yah equal with their gods, right? So one of the things, if you look at history, and I've heard this from other Hebrews, that you shouldn't use the name Yahuwah because it's connected to the Canaanite god, Yahweh, right? But in the Canaanite language, and amongst the Philistines and other people that understood the Phoenician or the Shemitic language that's attached to Hebrew, they called Yah that, they called him by his name, but they defined it as the god of war. Because it depends, like I said, it depends on what side of his hand you're on. If you're on the opposite side of his people, then he is the El of war to you. So, but what they did was they felt like they had captured the god of war by taking the idol that it looked like to them. The ark was an idol to them. We've taken the god of war, and now we'll be victorious. Now we're going to take the god of war into our God's temple so that this god can now submit to Dagon. We've captured you by the power of our God.
That's what they think.
That's what they're thinking, right? That's what they think. Okay. Now that you have that, let's go forward. And they set it down by Dagon, and when they and Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of Yahuwah. And they took Dagon and set him in his place again. You're like,
You keep bowing
this
down.
is interesting. And remember this, they don't make small idols. There are small idols. And the ark was probably small, which is interesting too. So you're thinking, we have this thing. They said the ark probably was like a chest. Like it wasn't like this like giant, no, it was something that they could carry. It was covered in rolls. It's probably heavy, but it wasn't something huge. Pagans make these huge statues. It's like, that's just what they do, right? So this thing had fallen over, so they come back in, and they're like picking it up. And so it says, and they put it in its place and set it in its place again. Verse 4, and when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground. And the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands lay cut upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left. If you've ever seen something fall, things don't fall with precision cuts.
No.
when things fall, they break. Like they just, if it's a stone, it would shatter, or if it would crack.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on how it was made, because remember, I'm going to read something about this. Idolaters, as former idolaters, we take time in how we set up our idols, right? You don't haphazardly build something. Those idols that the people built from back in the day, if you've been to museums, you know they were built to last forever.
Right.
It was part of the glory, if you will, of the idol. So you built it out of precious stone, or you built it out of things that you knew would withstand the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
They were built balanced, so they shouldn't fall over, because Dagon probably had never fallen over until this point, right? But this time he falls, and he's cut at the wrist, and his head's off. I'm going to read you Jeremiah 10. Most people have read Jeremiah 10, so I know it's not going to be something new to any of you. But I'm going to read it to you in the context of how Yah feels about and what he does to other nations and their gods. Hear ye, hear ye the word which Yahuwah speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith Yahuwah, learn not the ways of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen, with the axe. They deck it with silver and gold, they fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. So there you go. They don't want it to move.
Right.
They want it to stay. They're very, very precise.
Mm-hmm.
They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born. I always find that simple to be honest.
Yes.
Because
they
go
born.
not.
Mm-hmm.
Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good.
Mm.
For as much as there is none like unto thee, O Yah, thou art great, and thy name is great and mighty. Who would not fear thee, O King of nations? For to thee doth it appertain. For as much as among all the wise men of the nations, and in all their kingdoms, there is none like unto thee. But they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanities. Silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz. And the work of the workmen and of the hands of the founder, blue and purple is their color. And they are all the work of cunning men. But Yahuwah is the true Elohim. He is the living Elohim and an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation. Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. He hath made the earth by his power, he established the word by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his discretion. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the end of the earth, and he maketh lightning with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish in his knowledge, every founder is confounded by the graven image, for his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. All this is going to make sense more in a second. They are vanity and the work of errors. In the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahuwah of hosts is his name. Yahuwah Sabaoth is a war term. That's like, it's like Yahweh, it's like Yahweh of war, like the
warrior,
right? Mm-hmm. Gather up thy wares out of the land, O inhabitants of the fortress. For thus saith Yahuwah, behold, I will sling out the inhabitants of the land at this once, and will distress them, that they may find it so. Woe is me for my hurt, my wound is grievous, but I said, truly this is a grief, and I must bear. My tabernacle is spoiled, and all my cords are broken. My children are gone forth from me, and they are not. There is none to stretch forth my tent anymore, and to set up my curtains. For the pastors have become brutish, and have not sought Yahuwah, therefore they shall not prosper, and all their flocks shall be scattered. If you don't know 1 Samuel 1 through 4, Jeremiah is much later.
Mm-hmm.
And he's literally using the prophecy that was given about the destruction of Eli's sons, Hophni and Phinehas, as the description for what was going to happen to Israel when they were taken to Babylon in captivity. So it's the parallel is there. That's why he's telling him, he said, oh, no. They will beg to serve in my temple. And he talked about the children of Eli and their descendants. And he's like, I know we cut off young. And he's literally given the same exact thing. Why? Because you've honored your idols you set up over me. So he says, behold, the noise of the brute is coming, and a great commotion out of the north country to make the cities of Judah desolate, and a den of dragons. O Yahuwah, I know that the way of man is not in itself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. O Yahuwah, correct me, but with judgment, not in thy anger, lest thou bring me to nothing. Okay, so you get how Yah is compared and sees himself compared to these other elves. Yah told Solomon the same thing, and we'll read that a little later when we look through this book. When he said, I'm going to build you a temple. And he's like, that's cute. But if you don't obey me, I don't care about this building in that sense.
Right.
It's not about this stuff in here. It's about obedience. So people got, once again, caught up in the stuff of having Yah and disobeyed Yah. And guess what he said? I'll tear this whole thing down. And he did. He allowed people to come in and literally tear down the whole thing. Okay. So you get how Yah compares to these other elves. All right. So he rose on the morrow, and therefore, verse 5, the priest of Dagon, nor any that come into Dagon's house, tread the threshold of Dagon and Ashdod unto this day. So it created another fear. And then, because they were like, okay, is Dagon mad at us? What's going on here? So immediately they didn't attribute what was happening to Yah. They thought maybe Dagon was mad at us
for bringing him in here with us. Right.
It was still not made clear. And so Yah's judgment is always made clear. He leaves no room for anybody to think what he's doing comes from somebody else. It's always very, very clear. But the hand of Yahuwah was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them and smote them with, this is a mistranslation, but I'm going to read it, I'll take it as tumors, even Ashdod and the borders thereof. Remember I told you about kavod and the idea of a spanking, right? So the hand of Yah was heavy upon them, and he smote them with hemorrhoids. It literally meant he whooped them in their butts. Like literally, in a literal sense. It was like a spanking.
Hemorrhoids.
He gave them hemorrhoids.
Whoa.
That, yeah, painful. If you've ever had children and everything falls apart, you know having anything in that part of your body is not pleasant at all. He smoked all of them with them. And it was literally a picture of, oh, okay. So you didn't see it right away when it was your God next to this ark. But I'm going to do something that's not something that you can just pass away with. Well, maybe the ground shook last night, or maybe, no. I'm going to give you something that deals with my glory. I'm going to spank your butts. Literally. Literally. Because it's one thing to be able to go down to the store and get some preparation H. And it'd be good. It's another thing when it's something you can't get rid of. That means you can't work. I'm telling you, you can't work. You can't sit. You can't even think.
No.
You can't go to the bathroom. Going to the bathroom is a normal practice. And if you have something that is hurting when you go to the bathroom, it became something that was literally sore upon them, right? It was bad. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, also it's going to shut up a lot of wombs too, because nobody's going to be wanting to make babies.
No. Whoa, everybody got it.
You're out of commission. You don't think about how small things can completely take you out.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's huge. And it's funny because Yah did the same thing with Egypt. The first time we mentioned, get this phrase mentioned in the hand of Yah was sore upon them, was in Genesis 47 and 13. I think I got it right. I'm trying to use my brain to memorize stuff more, so I don't get early onset Alzheimer's. Might be right too. Okay, was I right? Yes, I was right. Genesis 47:13. And there was no bread in the land, talking about the land of Egypt, the land of Canaan, I'm sorry. For the famine, in Egypt, but for the famine was very sore, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan fainted by reason of the famine. It's translated here as sore, but the word is kavod. So literally the word kavod, which means like glory, is translated in the sense in a negative as sore. It means that Egypt was getting a whooping, and he was making their hind part soft so that Joseph could be put in a position so that he could actually save his people that were obviously experiencing famine in Canaan, Jacob, and 12 tribes. So you see the first mention there, and it's used in the sense of being the source. You get the context of it in a disciplinary way. Okay, so verse 7, and when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said, the ark of Elohim of Israel shall not abide with us. They're like, this has something to do with this ark. They start putting two together. Dagon fell. Ever since we brought this ark in, everything's been going crazy. The ark of Yah shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us and upon Dagon, our El. What was interesting to me with this is it's very, very much indicative of human nature, where we're not going to, we would rather get rid of Yah than to submit to Yah. They were like, they're not thinking like, okay, we're getting this whooping because, let's see. No, just get rid of it. We're not going to seek to understand that this El must be stronger than ours. Let's worship this one. As true pagans would probably do. No, because see, this El has rules. And he's doing stuff, and he's not with it. Seems like because we don't listen to him, he's doing stuff to us. Why? Because, like I said, their elves are not elves. They have eyes and see not, and ears that hear not, and they have to be born.
Right.
An idol, and the thing about idols that makes idols so terrible is that the way an idol gets power is because you give it to it.
The people
Christmas has no power,
Right.
but it's how we feel about it that we uphold the custom. Christmas wouldn't care if Christmas wasn't here.
He didn't care. Yeah.
A Christmas tree wouldn't care if it wasn't put up. I think trees would be a lot happier if they could stay in their natural environment.
Right.
You're killing the tree. If the tree had a voice in all of this, I'm sure it would be like the Lorax. Hey, I am the pine tree and I speak for the trees. Stop cutting us because we're dying, and then you just leave us by the side of the road. Right? The trees, the elements, everything in nature wants to be obedient to Yah. It's when we set up the idols in our hearts and choose to then manifest our idolatry in physical that it becomes a thing. And so that's why he was saying, if you take away, what would it matter if you had a Christmas tree or not if Christmas was a thing that really existed in the universe? No, it's something that you've given power to. Dagon is a thing you've given power to. You think fish are out there looking, saying, worship me, and when you catch me, worship me. No, fish are worshiping the Creator, right? The fish are not thinking that. Then somebody saw something or felt something, and then they put emphasis on it, and then they forced you to then participate in it, and it created a mental bondage to where you can only see that thing as what it is. And now you get people, even Hebrews, that's funny to me, because they're like, I can't go to the store during Christmas. And I'm like, if you think I care about a tree, a plastic tree, a real tree, means nothing to me. I forget at this point in my walk that it is even that season until I hear the music or I get a peppermint mocha. That's about it. But for the most part, it doesn't mean anything. So they wanted to send Yah out. And it says, they sent therefore and gathered all the lords or the masters of the Philistines unto them and said, what shall we do with the ark of Yahuwah of Israel? So they call him by name as they go, he's not just a God. The ark of Yahuwah of Israel. And they answered, let the ark of Yahuwah of Israel be carried about unto Gath. And they carried the ark of Elohim or Yahuwah of Israel thither. So even still, right, Gath is another Philistine territory. So they're like, oh, it's just too close to here. So let's just move it into a corner. Let's just put Yah in a place over here, because they still couldn't stomach the fact that this represents the fact that we defeat these people. So we're going to keep it with us, but we're going to move it out of the city center to see if that kind of helps with the handling situation. Right? So verse 9, and it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of Yahuwah was against the city they took it to, with a very great comforter. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, with hemorrhoids, and it broke out upon them. So he's like, oh, I'm not playing.
In their secret
right?
parts.
So we talked about how the glory of Yah had left from Israel. but the glory of Yah had not left from the world. Yah was still present. I'm just not dealing with you right now.
Right.
But I'm not going to let anybody think anything about me, because remember, everything that Yah does, he does for his namesake.
Mm-hmm.
Israel being whooped or not being whooped, Israel being destroyed or not being destroyed, is not the end all for the glory of Yah's name.
Right.
Because you're making my name look bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we had to leave the land. It wasn't just the practices of idolatry, but you're supposed to carry my name. Do not take my name
In
in vain.
vain.
It's not saying, oh, don't tell people you're the children of Israel.
No.
Don't say Yah's name, because that's how we. No. Don't say you're with me and your character is not a representative of me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's the issue. So then I have to show that I'm against you too. Anybody that does not do things in my name and my character, I have to chastise you, no matter who you are. So he couldn't let them think that it was just about them. No, it's about me. So it says, verse 10, so they sent the ark out of Elohim or of Yah to Ekron. Let's move to another city. Maybe this idol doesn't like this city.
So,
And it came to pass, as the ark of Elohim came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying, they have brought the ark of Yahuwah of Israel to us to kill us and our people.
mm-hmm.
So they tried to take it to another people. So it was like, okay, they're not exactly Philistines, but maybe they're like captives, or maybe they had lived in this area. He's like, put it over there. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're trying to kill us. We don't want it.
We don't want it.
We don't want it. No.
Uh-oh. Yep.
They had good sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent therefore and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines. They said, send away the ark of Elohim, of Yahuwah of Israel, and let it go again to its own place. They finally figured out, you know what?
Just send this thing back.
We have to send it back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That it slay us not and our people. For there were a deadly discomfiture throughout all the city, and the hand of Yahuwah was very heavy there. Yah's kavod did not leave. It left Israel in a blessing sense. They were under the kavod of wrath. And then that same thing showed up to the Philistines. And the men that died not, because some people died.
Died from a
And the men that died not were smitten with the hemorrhoids, and the cry of the city went up to Shammai. Okay? Chapter 6, because it doesn't stop. And, can't start a chapter with and, so it's a continuance.
Right.
And the ark of Yahuwah was in the country of the Philistines 7 months. Talk about disobedient. How long would it have taken most of us to figure out, maybe I don't want this here?
Right.
Right? Maybe I should do something else? 7 months this went on.
slow thinkers.
I don't want to have hemorrhoids
Slow
for
doers.
1
Wow.
minute. I don't want to die.
Slow
for
thinkers.
People are dying. People are probably getting infections. It's bad. Like it's bad. 7 months. That's 3/4 of a year almost. Pretty much, give or take. More than half, actually. It's like it's a lot. Half, almost half a
They
year.
was a glutton for punishment.
And they're like, we're gonna keep it here. We're gonna try to tough this one out.
Okay.
Out of pride, first of all, because
Right.
they think that they beat this God, but you
Right.
have not looked this God.
Right.
You've not looked Yah.
He finna
Right?
put a
You've done nothing.
And so
Mhm. Two.
they wanted to get rid of Yah so they could return to their practices of bondage. Because it was now in the first sense of it being there, it looks bad, but submitting to Yah would have been freedom. Right? They wanted to get rid of the ark and give it back to its people so that they can continue with their gods. Paul makes a connection with this in Galatians chapter 4, verse 8 through 11. So I can grab it and just read it. He talks about the nature of man and how you can literally have Yah and his glory, negative or positive, in your face and still want to go with your own idols that you set up. The greatest idol that we have is ourselves. And the ones that we set up in our hearts. There's actually a verse in Jeremiah, I believe it is, Isaiah or Jeremiah, where he says that when certain preachers preach, they preach and they shoot their arrows at the idols that you've set up. They're trying to hit that. That's why people like certain churches and like certain teaching and like certain camps and like, that's why people flock. If you have a spirit of whoredom, you're going to flock toward, and I'm out in the Hebrew walk too, toward the teachers that allow spiritual
Order.
order. If you
Yes.
like the spirit of pride, you're gonna flock towards teachers that don't have an issue allowing those idols to stay set up in your home, because they either preach around them or they feed it. So if you look at like certain camps where they're cussing people out and they're, why do some young men like that? Because that's where they are right now. So then they're like, yeah, this feels good to me.
Right.
This feels good to my idol. I want to do this, and it has nothing to do with building and uplifting and forwarding the kingdom. It causes more dissension than it does oneness.
Mhm.
You have it?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Galatians 4 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Howbeit then, when ye knew not Yahuwah, ye did serve unto them which by nature are no mighty ones. But now, after that ye have known Elohim, or rather are known of Elohim, how turn ye again to the weak and beggarly elements, whereunto ye desire again to be in bondage? Ye observe days and months and times and years. I am afraid of you, lest I have bestowed upon you labor in vain.
So I heard this a funny thing. A cousin of mine used this against me when I first started walking in Torah, and he was like, "See, this is talking about you. How dare you turn back?" And I said, You got times and days and years too,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have anything to do with this book.
No.
It's talking about you, where you've been made free from idolatry and from serving after false gods.
Right.
Some of these people who had been in paganism, he said, and then you turn back and you're trying to observe these days and months and years
Right.
towards, and he was like, nah, I don't see it. Oh, you see it. You see it. It's the same thing with them.
Right.
You have the glory of Yah. You've been presented with it. And at first, it does kind of feel like a hemorrhoid when you have to be like, when all the weight of what you didn't know
Right.
comes
Right.
upon you. You know, that's kind of how the whole point of a hemorrhoid is, that it's heavy.
Mhm.
Something's heavy upon you, you're pushing, and then this happens. So that was also a picture of that. So you have this weight of this new information, and so many people won't just turn and see, why is this so heavy upon me? You rather say, I'm just going to get rid of it and ignore it, and eventually either die or still live in this torment. I was talking to Maury earlier, and I said it's interesting that the people who are preaching and teaching to our people who are not awoke, they know this. The hand of Yah is heavy upon them. We don't get to experience their personal lives. There's a few people I know, and I still I can see it, but we don't get to experience how the hand of Yah is heavy upon them. Because in a sense, it wasn't like everybody was walking around with their butts out. Everybody knew. But it was their disposition and how they carried themselves and how they were so adamant on getting rid of this thing that showed you that something about what was happening with this ark was discomforting them. It's the same thing with preachers. Their ass hurts.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's being honest.
Mhm.
And they're so discomforted that they're always attacking this truth, because I want you to stop talking about this because it's heavy upon me and it's causing me distress. They can't stop thinking about it. Y'all won't let you.
No.
It's not going anywhere.
It's just gonna get worse.
So you're there. It has to come to a point, just like it did with them, where you have to make a choice. You're going to either acknowledge it or you're going to die.
Right.
It didn't say that sending that ark away didn't change the decision that they had made. You made a second death decision.
Ooh.
The first death, again, we all have to experience.
We gotta
you
do
made
that.
a second death decision when you chose to ignore the pain. It is the nature of the human body to deal with and not turn off the brain when it's in pain. And like I'm like that. If I have something that's wrong with me and I can't figure out what it is, I don't take anything for it, because I need to know what is causing me to feel
Get this way.
I need more water. I'm gonna try everything else before I just shut off the pain sensors.
Right.
But what's happening with our families who are caught up in the westernized religious mindset,
Wow.
they just want to cut off the pain sensor. And so they keep them distracted and busy, but they're experiencing it too. And you're going to see, because when it comes to what's going to happen here when they get rid of the ark, it's the people that they call together to get rid of it that shows you that there are people responsible, and they know what to do, and they know what they're doing.
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the ark of Yahuwah was in the country of the Philistines, 7 months, verse 2. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, or the witches and warlocks and everyone, saying, what shall we do with the ark of Yahuwah? So they leveled up. They didn't go to the people. The people were just like, we don't know what's happening. You didn't say, we brought this ark in here. And the people were like, we don't want it. They were like, don't bring it in here. You're trying to kill us.
Right.
The people don't want to die. The people don't want to perish.
Mm-hmm.
But you have these secret society meetings behind closed doors as the leadership, and you're deciding the fate of the people. And then you're going back out with a unified front on now what we're going to do and not telling the truth. We experience this not only in church, we experience it in media and our countries too.
Wow, yeah.
And so they said, what shall we do with the ark of Yahuwah? In this case, for us, is at this point, with us waking up, what shall we do with these people of Yahuwah? There's calamity happening.
Mm-hmm.
They're experiencing things they don't want to tell anybody, like, all this stuff is happening. We stole these people.
Yeah.
And they don't want to give them back.
Mm-mm.
Right. I don't want to give them back. I don't want to let them, because what's going to happen? It's going to cause a lot of confusion. People will be like, wait, you told us what?
Right.
And these are who?
And we did this to
And
them?
exactly. So it says, what shall we do with the ark of Yahuwah? Show us wherewith we shall send it to its place. Same exact thing. History only repeats itself. The same exact thing has to happen with us as a people. There is going to come a time when the leadership is going to have to get together and say, where do we send them? Call together all the people that know, because they know. Call them together, get your slave ledgers and your whatever you have that you're hiding in your houses, and the stuff that Hitler stole that you bought
And
off the
buried,
black market
yeah.
with the pictures and the names
Dig
of the
it out.
places, and send them back with their stuff. So the question has to come up, and I think it's a lot of discussion happening at a lot of these summits. It's getting time that we're gonna have to.
Get them
They
people
gonna
out
mess
of
up
here.
everything if we don't send them back.
Yeah.
Yah's gonna mess up everything if we don't send them back. So he says, show us wherewith we shall send it to its place. And they said, if you send it away the ark of Elohim of Israel, send it not empty. Boom, back to Egypt. They saw that. They know the history. They knew that Yah whooped at Egypt. And they also knew that Egypt didn't lead, when they left from Egypt, they didn't leave empty-handed. So they're thinking through their records. They have scribes and they have people as well. It says, send it not empty, but by all means return him a trespass offering. How, oh how, do the pagans know to give him a trespass offering? I'm going to do Hebrew word for the trespass offering. This is my favorite part of this whole lesson. A trespass offering is the Hebrew word Hashem. So everything I told you before deals with his namesake. The glory is for his namesake, whether it's sore upon you, whether it's blessing you, it's for his namesake. The Hebrew word for a trespass offering is Aleph, Shin, Mem. And it would look like, not a good drawer, but it would look like an ox. And then 2 teeth. And water. Shin Mem is ship. It means the character or the fame. See, what they remember about Yah is Yah's famous. Yah went to Egypt. Canaan and the area of the Philistines was a Egyptian province. So all that area belonged to Egypt. So that's why when Yah sent Israel in to get the land, it wasn't hard. Remember when they went to where Rahab was, she was like, we already knew you were coming. We heard about you guys. When you take down the big thing, it's easier to get rid of the smaller provinces because they're under the control of this bigger place. Philistine and all those areas were the same exact way. And so Yah's fame had traveled. The story had already trickled through. That's why the fear was already there. That's why it would have been no problem. They would have been obeying Yah to whoop everybody. Some of them just left. If you read through Joshua and Judges, some people just fled. They're like, we're not gonna fight. So one group said, just make us your slaves. They did. They were like, look, we'll serve. We'll draw water. You guys remember that story?
Yes.
We'll draw water. That's what we'll do for you. And so this word Hashem is the fame or the character that is gone forth. Hashem, Aleph is an ox. power, strong leader, or el. They were giving a trespass based upon what they're admitting that they did wrong. We put another L before your character. We need to give an offering for this.
Mm-hmm.
Ashim means, is the idea of to trespass. I'm guilty of, and the guilt is in the offering. We put an aleph or another strong leader before your character.
Mm-hmm.
We knew better. And so they go and he says, we have to give a trespass offering. Then ye shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. In the offering was the problem. And he's saying, if we do this right and admit, because everybody has to confess, right? He doesn't say in the last days when everybody confesses, every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. It doesn't say that everybody's going to actually follow him, though.
Right.
But everyone is going to be forced to admit, one, like I talked about, we said about the people, these are my people whom I have loved, and two, you've offended me.
Me, my, they Elohim.
See right here, it says, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you. Then said they, what shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? And they said, 5 golden hemorrhoids.
Right, because we know what
They're
he's
like,
doing.
show the people what the plague was. They need to see it.
Mm-hmm.
5 golden hemorrhoids and 5 golden mice. So there was also pestilence too. You don't see that, but there were, which is just, you don't want to have mice and hemorrhoids.
That keeps
Because mice carry diseases, like they do. Okay. According to the number of the masters of the Philistines, make your leadership bring it. Don't let the people do it. He says, do it according to the leadership. Tell them to bring it. And he says, for one plague was on you and your leadership or your masters. Wherefore you shall make images of your tumors, of your hemorrhoids, and images of your mice that mar the land. So the mice are going through and ravishing your crops. And ye shall give glory, kavod, there you go, and you shall give kavod unto the Elohim, or unto Yahweh of Israel. You have to give him glory for him to take his hand from off you. So they had to then come forth and bring it out.
Right.
Peradventure he will lighten his hand from off you, and from off your Elohim, and from off your land. Wherefore then do ye harden your hearts as
The Egyptians.
this Philistine, these diviners and these people are preaching all of a sudden. He says, wherefore then do ye harden your hearts as the Egyptians, and Pharaoh hardened their hearts. He's saying, you know what happened when they did.
Right.
You're going to do the same thing? When he had wrought wonderful among them, did they not let the people go and they departed? He's literally like
reminding them our history.
The Philistines. Now therefore take and prepare you a new cart. So now he gives it. I don't know who this person is, and I
don't think they mentioned his name.
They don't. They said, and the Philistines call for the priests. Remember, one of the things that also happens is that you had our priests who were also participating with pagans. You're also going to see that David's also going to make an allegiance with the Philistines, where he has his like own mini army where he does like mercenary work almost for the Philistines because Saul is against him. And then they didn't want David to fight against them with Saul because they thought that he would like fight from within them and destroy them because those were still his people. So it's not unlikely for us to have our people in the midst of other people, especially if they're, so funny, you have these people who pretend like they don't know.
And they know.
They're preachers, they're like, nah, the Torah thing, you ain't gonna do it. And all of a sudden something pop up, they're like, well, actually,
It says here.
because there are called preachers. And I'm not saying not all false preachers are not called.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Some of them are willingly doing what they know they're not supposed to do.
Right.
They're preaching falsely, but in their heart of hearts,
They know.
they know. They could, like, whoever this priest is, it says Kohanim, right? There were priests, plural, had probably grown up in Torah. And they were like, but I want to go participate with Dagon.
Right.
And
I
other
just
guys,
for they
so
little
go in.
stuff.
So he then comes through, like, out of nowhere, because Yah can rise a prophet, a priest out of anywhere.
Anywhere.
And he tells them the truth. Okay, he says, now, therefore prepare you a new cart, and 2 milch kine, on which there hath come no yoke. He's like being specific.
Yes.
Don't get no old. You have to. To worship
Calf,
God, you should
heifer.
put the same exact
Mhm.
intensity behind how you worship these false gods. You should do it even more. Homie, then he says, when you knew not God, you worship gods, right? How much more so now?
Now that you know.
You did it for your false gods. How much more should you pay attention to detail? You trimming trees and rushing and fussing and no. Then how much more so on this end when the things of Yah are actually profitable for not just the body but the soul as well,
Mhm.
right? So he says, take 2 milch kine on which there come no yoke, and tie the kine to the cart, and bring their calves home from them. And take the ark of Yahuwah and lay it upon the cart, and put the jewels of gold which he returned him for a trespass in a coffer, or like a chest, by the side thereof, and send it away that it may go. He also, whoever this priest was, had sense enough to know that y'all better not carry it.
Better not touch it.
People have died for less.
Right.
Right, but
Mhm.
do not put it on
The cart
the cart.
with the cows and don't
Check
touch
this
it.
out. He says, and the men did so. So they brought all this stuff, because remember, you can't just they didn't take it by, no, the leaders had to come out, and they had to, it was literally a perfect picture of the function of that ark. Because the ark, the sin was supposed to be laid upon the ark. So they had to come out to the mercy seat
Mhm.
and literally lay their
Sins.
sacrifices
Mhm.
onto that ark. Each one of them. I'll put that box and put it on. One of the things that popped out to me is that Yah is also merciful in the sense that as long as the ark was gone, they couldn't offer sacrifices, right? The temple didn't function. A portion of the tabernacle was gone. The main function.
Right.
I don't know exactly when. We don't, because this ark is going to stay out of the community for a really long time. But feasts were passing, which means that they could not participate because the ark was gone. So the whole function was completely thrown off.
Right. All the people.
Completely thrown off. So when the glory of Yah leaves, there's more to it. There is atonement passing, and no atonement for the sin of the people as long as that ark is gone. Because it was set up for that to be the place of sacrifice. So now you couldn't use the images and the structure. It had to be a work of the heart at that point for the people who really, really saw Yah.
Mhm.
Which was another picture of, and we'll see it in the next chapter, next week.
Right.
Because Samuel had good sense. He had sense like Noah. He's going to do something. I'll tell you ahead of time. Noah, while there was no tabernacle, no temple, there was still the idea of offering. And Noah offered, he built an altar. I don't care what anybody else is doing.
I'm a build one.
I'm going to build one.
Mhm.
There's nothing to do, because this is not to deal with the nation and their particular faults. This is my relationship with Yah, where it then became individual for all those people. It was going to show you who was still rolling with Yah and who was just like, well, I'm glad that the ark is gone, right?
Mhm.
And so what Samuel's going to do, because the ark is going to be gone for I think 20 years, Samuel is going to build an altar in the next chapter.
Oh, okay.
And so Samuel's going to become an even more important figure in the land, because without the ark, there's no temple function. Without the temple function, you gotta have what's
You gotta
gonna
be
happen, who you
chaos.
go to, who's your
Right.
leader. So the people who are righteous are gonna choose for sure their official leader is gonna be Samuel.
This Samuel. Mhm.
Okay, so they put the ark upon the cart, and the coffer with the mice of gold and the images of their hemorrhoids, and the kine took straightway by the way to Beth Shemesh. They went along the highway, lowing as they went, and turned not aside to the right or to the left. Look how obedient animals
I
are.
know.
And the masters of the Philistines went after them unto the border of Beth Shemesh. It was like, get going, take it.
Get away,
They
watch
make
it.
sure, make sure it gets out of our territory.
Just walk
Like
behind it and
scapegoat,
follow it.
right?
Right.
Send it out. Send it out.
Mhm. Make sure it leaves.
And the cart came into the field of Joshua, the Bethshemite, and stood there where there was a great stone. And they clave the wood of the cart and offered up the kine for a burnt offering unto Yah. So the people came to Joshua's land to Beth, the house, Shemite. The house is the house of Yah's name, or the house. It went to a place where his name or his
was.
fame dwelt.
Mhm.
And so they got the cart, stopped the cart, unhooked it, and then they gave the cart as a burnt offering. I mean the calves as a burnt offering to Yah. And the Levites took down the ark of Yahuwah and the coffer that was with it, wherein the jewels of gold were, and put them on the great stone. And the men, I think on one it says the great stone of Abel. Did it say that? No? It might be in the next verse. The great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and sacrifices that same day unto Yahuwah. And when the 5 masters of the Philistines had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day. They're like, all right, it's good. Let's go home.
We can go back. Mm-hmm.
And these are the golden tumors which the Philistines returned for a trespass offering unto Yahuwah. Here's some numbers, just so you know that it wasn't a joke.
1.
Ashdod 1,
Mm-hmm.
for Gaza 1, for Ashkelon 1, for Gath 1, and for Ekron 1.
Mm-hmm.
And the golden mice, according to the number of all the cities of the Philistines belonging to the 5 masters, both the fortified cities and of country villages, even unto the great stone whereon they set down the ark of Yahuwah, which stone remaineth unto this day in the field of Yahushua or Joshua, the Bethshemite. And he smote the men. Now this just gets real interesting.
It does.
And he smote the men of Bethshemesh because they looked into the ark of Yahuwah.
Wow.
He smote the people 70 men and 50,000 men, so 57,000, and 50,070 men, and the people mourned because Yahuwah had smitten the people with a great slaughter. You still don't respect me. Don't think this is over. Just because they said, because I allowed the ark to come back here. We still have to deal with something, and that something is a condition of your hearts. Because you still don't get it.
Mm-mm.
This stuff don't belong to you. I don't belong to you. The way I have set things up is for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the men of Bethshemesh said, who is able to stand before Yahuwah, this set apart Elohim, and to whom shall he go up from us? And they sent messengers to the inhabitants of Kiriath Jearim, saying, the Philistines have brought back the ark of Yahuwah. Come ye down and fetch it up to you. But they didn't even.
They didn't want it. They sent it to some more people. They're scared of it.
Yah is proving a point in verse 8 with a bunch of things. And one of the things is my glory, my name. Come on, play that. I think that's all I have. That's all I have. Yeah. So we're gonna see Yah is going to have to do something, and one of the things he does is he have to change the heart of the leadership in order to change the heart of the people. Samuel was the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and Samuel doesn't win over the hearts of the people. But there's a lot to be done with the nation, and it also showed me something that when even in our awakening, and as we, get our stuff together so that Yah can then do what he's done with the ark, with our people, bring us back to the land, he still has a lot of hard work to do. And while we have a bunch of other things that we choose to focus on in this captivity, this is the most important one. This is the most important because from the heart flows the issue of life. What your authority within is and how you obey, everything else flows from that.
Right.
And it's so important to get that part right because you can't follow Yah. And it can't be hard if pagans can do it.
Right.
And it shouldn't have to always come with brute force. A hard head does make a soft mind, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But love, which is lev, the authority within, the love though, lev, your heart, but love, the actual function, that flowing forth of having someone give something to you and care for you should in turn bring the response of you showed me you love me, so I'll be obedient. We're missing that with Yah. I showed you. Show you over and over again, and over and over again, over and over again. So then what's next? So like my kids, I give them everything they want. And that could be like, you know what, I should clean my room, and I should not fight with my sister, and it doesn't manifest that way.
They don't.
No, it doesn't. But
They want more and more.
as you get older, as a child, yes, that should be your mindset. So we learn a lot about where we are in our walk based upon how we respond to Yah's love. Or do I have to discipline you? You will love me because I'm your disciplinarian. You'll learn to love me later for all the other wonderful things that come with me being me. But for now, I might just put you right here in this area of this is how you'll experience me. And Yah is going to do that with us so many times that we should get to a point where we should be like, Davis is a weaned child, right? Where as a weaned child, I've learned that I'm not gonna starve. I can just ask when I'm hungry. That my mom is not running away or my dad's not running away. I've seen the consistency in your behavior and in your way. That even if you are sore upon me, I know you still love me, so I'm still gonna be obedient to you. And that's what Yah is trying to work out of the people. He's like, it's been too easy, it seems. So I'm gonna have to go into some hard measures to get you to turn back to me.
Got it.
And we're at a point now, and here now even the people fear Yah. They're like, who can
Stand
do this then?
Mm-hmm.
Not by your own strength and not by your own might, of
Right.
course, because 50,000 people just died.
We're looking.
We're looking. They probably always wondered, Hebrews knows. Oh, let me see if
what
that
it
bud, that Aaron's rod that budded, and let me see if that man is still. Oh, you don't trust me, because that's what it was. Yah cares. I'm not gonna say he doesn't care, but Yah, it's the fact of like, oh, you think, oh, that's how you
You
feel
don't
about
trust
me?
me? Right.
You just had an ark come back on a cart
On its own.
on its own.
Didn't have no.
And then you just like, well, let me just peek inside. You weren't even supposed to be.
The animal knew where to take that.
Didn't.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
questions, comments, anything?
You covered it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so next week, chapter 7. Whether we're online or in person.
Okay.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Thank
Shalom.
you.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Yes.
Did you see him?
Mhm.
Oh, that's a first.
Yes. Both of them did. They both stayed on.